It really has been 7 months since the last video, hasn't it? And here I am with yet another video on a Nintendo game aimed at a younger audience. Look, times were tough for a lot of people, and I didn't get an excuse to look back at a Wii game from my childhood. We cool? Cool. It was only a matter of time before I covered the Red Plumber himself, Super Mario. It's a series with a largely bubbly, cheery demeanor, a constant eye for critical and financial success, and a desire to constantly change and evolve. Whether that be venturing into 3D, or on a globe-trotting adventure, or even into outer space. See, Super Mario Galaxy was a weird time for the Mario series. For only once in its history, Nintendo saw fit to expand upon what Mario could be with not only its gameplay, but also its story and world building. The same happy-go-lucky running and jumping game mechanics the series is known for stayed the same as they ever were, but now with some wonky planetary physics and a massive heaping of existential dread greeting you on the horizon. Space. Jacob Geller talks a lot about this in his video, The Quiet Sadness of Super Mario Galaxy. To be frank, his video is the sole reason why this one exists, and because of that, I'm going to be borrowing and applying some of the ideas that he talks about in this one, to carry on the conversation, so to speak. So you should probably pause the video, go check that one out, and then come back, if you haven't watched it already. Okay, we good? Good. Let's move on. But in case you still refuse to follow my aforementioned instructions, I'll give a basic rundown. He talks about how Mario Galaxy uses a combination of the constant presence of the void of space alongside a series of quiet moments, or what he calls exhales. The Gateway Galaxy, the Comet Observatory Garden, and Rosalina's storybook, just to name a few, to slow down and create a sense of warmth, even amidst an unfeeling expanse of nothingness. And while he manages to cover a lot regarding this topic in just 10 minutes, I was a little surprised he never mentioned one particular example of this found throughout the game. Let me explain. Oftentimes, media that takes place in space tends to wrestle with the smallness and fragility of our own existence. That any one of us could die at a moment's notice, and the world around us would keep going as if we were never even there. It's an unrealistic take, to be sure, but a common one, and Super Mario Galaxy is no exception to this trend. However, just as the game subverts the cold, unfeeling reality of space to provide moments of warmth and familiarity, so too does it subvert that vicious cycle of life and death and portray it as something oddly beautiful. Look at the Lumas, for instance, a species of scar-like creatures that have the ability to transform into sling stars, launch stars, planetoids, and even entire galaxies. Like real-life stars which live and die by the whims of gravity and other scientific phenomena that I'm far from qualified to discuss, their existence is driven by this sort of transformation. The key difference, though, is that with Lumas, this transformation, this giving of self, comes from somewhere within, a place of altruistic sacrifice. When they become launch stars, planetoids, galaxies, they, for all intents and purposes, lose themselves solely for the sake of Mario continuing his adventure to save the universe. And a couple of scarbits. And in losing themselves, they become something new. They are transformed. Now this talk of altruism would be mere conjecture, but thankfully, Nintendo decided to include something unheard of for a Mario game to dispel this notion. The backstory to one of its most prominent characters as found in Rosalina's storybook. It weaves a shockingly tragic tale of how Rosalina left her original home to eventually become the mother to all Lumas and the queen of the universe. However, I want to focus on a small section of Chapter 8. Here, Rosalina starts crying because she begins to miss her old, former life, her home, her family. In response to this, several Lumas stop to lift her spirits up with these words. "Our destiny as Lumas is to transform into different things," said a red Luma who had suddenly appeared. "Stars, comets, planets, we can become all of these things. When I grow up, I want to become a star that makes someone special smile," said a green Luma. It's telling that their assuring message is all about sacrifice, giving up what you once had to transform into something new for someone else. That's a part of the Luma's core identity. However, it's also telling for Rosalina, as it tells us that she didn't ease into her intergalactic role completely flawlessly. She had to lose something valuable to her in the process. The tale, though, portrays this moment at worst as bittersweet, instead giving warmth to the new, rather than dwelling on the old. This positive portrayal of this theme, life, death, rebirth, present both with Rosalina and her Lumas, comes to a head with the game's strangest moment, that of a perplexing ending. In most Mario games, it typically goes that Mario defeats Bowser, Peach is rescued, and the Mushroom Kingdom lives happily ever after. Not quite so in Galaxy. I mean, the first two happen as expected. Bowser falls into the reactor, and Mario and Peach fly out with a grand scar in tow. But it's what happens next where things take a radical shift. We see Bowser on the crumbling remains of the reactor, crying out at the sight of near death before being consumed. However, once he's gone, the reactor doesn't stop. It undergoes a supernova, exploding to become a black hole that threatens to engulf everything. In one last act of sacrifice, though, all the Lumas that Mario has encountered on his journey, including the one in his hat, quite literally throw themselves at this ensuing chaos in order to neutralize it, and thereby reset the universe. Here it is again. That same idea of ridding of the old to bring in the new, but this time on an intergalactic scale. It is my belief that Bowser's actions in the game prove so vile, their consequences so great, that the whole universe would need to be purged and started anew. And as has been shown, these circumstances aren't at all unique. They're normal. Rosalina even says as such when monologuing to Mario after the reset. When scars die, they turn to stardust and scatter across the cosmos. Eventually, that stardust reforms to create a new star, and so the cycle of life continues. While her words here sound very much like the words of a naturalist, see Carl Sagan's "We Are All Star Stuff" monologue and all that, I see something deeper at play, particularly given the circumstances we're going through right now. This virus has undeniably shaken us down to our very core, and it's helped us to see both the best and the worst aspects of humanity and modern civilization. We see our governmental and private institutions stripped down to reveal the fallible people who run them. We see people scalping certain resources when people need them most, but we also see healthcare and other essential workers risking their lives to save as many other lives as possible, and even just to keep the economy running. We see people uniformly transforming the way they live their lives in order to best reduce the damage. And most of all, we see loss. Everyone, no matter who you are, much like Rosalina in the storybook, has lost something or someone to this pandemic, something that requires a degree of deep mourning. And that's okay. It's gonna be okay. I want to conclude by mentioning the last cutscene before the credits roll. Here, everyone, even Bowser, reconvenes in a revitalized Mushroom Kingdom, with a new series of galaxies residing above. Everyone now has a second chance. There is no going back to normal when we come out of this virus. But we each have an opportunity to do the very same, to look at the scars and know that we all can give of ourselves and transform into something new.
Welcome! Welcome, new galaxy!
Well, that's the video. Sorry to keep you all waiting for 7 whole months, but I'm back, and hopefully ready to enact a consistent upload schedule. Let's see how that goes. This video was very therapeutic for me and my mental health. Do I even need to say why? And I'm just kinda glad to have it out there. Either way, I appreciate that you stuck around to the end. If you enjoyed, then be sure to subscribe for more content. And if you didn't, put some constructive criticism down in the comments so I know how I can improve. As always, thanks for watching, stay safe, and I hope to see you in the next one.